credit to all those young men for what they're doing in the classroom. Special note is to Bryce Benhart, who did it for the 5th time. So, obviously, first year he couldn't do it, so he's been here for 6 years. He's done it 5 times. And that's, to me, that's the Nebraska way. So with that, I'll answer your questions.
Matt, what's your secondary coach situation with Coach Butler moving to the defensive coordinator spot?
Yeah, he's had Adam DeMichael with him all year. Tariq, our GA, has been with him all year. So he's handling that with those 2 guys right now. We will hire a secondary coach. We actually have some people in for interviews today and tomorrow. So, or not talk to, whatever you call it. So there's a process. We'll follow it, but we should have something pretty soon.
Can you take us through your decision to hire John as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I was very, very, very methodical. I talked to John about his vision. I interviewed probably 5 people, 6 people. There were a lot of parameters to me that mattered. The least of which was the optics. I was like, I didn't care about making a splash or anything like that. I wanted to make the right decision. As I've said, Coach Kevin McGarry, who's been here the last couple of years, I think he told one of the candidates, that coming here is like is a defensive coordinator's dream. We practice a certain way, we play a certain way. So I wanted to get the right person. I talked to a lot of great candidates. There was a ton of interest from sitting defensive coordinators. But I thought I really like what we've done the last 2 years. I thought we maybe took a step back defensively a little bit this year in some areas. But I like what we've done. I like the overall general philosophy. And so, but to win moving forward, and this is something that, a mentor of mine, Phil Snow, said to me. He said, Matt, to win moving forward, the things we're doing, the havoc that we're creating is great on, 3rd down, to be 1st and 2nd down. To be great moving forward on 3rd down, some of the stuff that we've done in the NFL, 3rd down packages, 2nd and long packages versus the teams who can really throw it. Like, we can go out, we played good against Iowa, but, Iowa's a running team. To be able to stop the offenses that we're going to need to stop, that can drop back and spin the ball. We're going to need some advanced, I think, defense on 3rd down, 2-minute, red zone. And as I went through that, John had the top secondary in the NFL for 5 years. There was a lot of outpouring from our current players, guys I really respect. And, I'm not going to make that decision because of that, but I think they felt like some of the current guys in the secondary felt like after 3 or 4 years in college, John had brought a professionalism and a next level mentality to them that they thought was going to prepare them for the next level. Some of them had no business, they're leaving, so they didn't have to say that to me. So I think it was just a combination of who can add to what we're already doing at a high level, who can bring some things secondary-wise to really help us, and after working with John for a year, I thought he was really, really professional, really good to work with, great evaluator, and excited for him.
John's talked about this a little himself, but how have you seen him adjust this fall to the college game after he had that decade in the NFL and coaching a different type of player?
So I think the transition, to be asked to come make that transition in late July is really hard. I think John will tell you one of the things early on, he just had to concentrate on the guys that were playing, which is not what we want to be. Like, we want to be a developmental, work with the young players, get them better. I think about halfway through the year, I think John kind of took a step back and really kind of started to pour into the younger players because knowing, hey, we need these guys. But to ask someone to come in and learn a different system, Tony White's system in July is really difficult. And so I think he had to just kind of concentrate on the gifts and the Deshaun's. And I think Deshaun played his best ball this year, So, but when I sat there and looked at the second bye week and I looked at bowl practice, I looked at what like Donovan Jones is doing and Braylon Prude and Caleb Benning and Amari Sanders and Larry Tarver and all these young players, Mario Buford. And what I've seen them really make some jumps, like some real jumps. And so might have not been the trajectory was going early on, but I think a lot of that was just difficult. And then I think they've really made that. But, we're going to hire a secondary coach who's in alignment with John. I think the biggest thing is his ability to game plan opponents, the way he sees it. Again, I think we've done a lot of good things in 2 years. I think some areas, though, like red zone defense, some of the things on 3rd down, are opportunities for us to get better. And I think a lot of that will come down to coverage and more advanced coverage and blitz packages.
How do you envision Phil Snow's role on this staff?
Well, he's not officially hired, so I can't really talk about him. What I will say is, if I did hire someone in a sort of like a elder statesman role, like some of the, I talked to a Hall of Fame coach, and he talked to me about having someone like that. And John's been a coordinator before. John needs no help. I don't believe that, but I do think in today's college football, when you're like looking around, this job as a head coach is a juggernaut. There's way more to do here than I had to do in the NFL. And so having someone over there on defense, seeing the big picture, whether it's portal evaluations or evaluating your own guys, or making sure at the end of the day we're still doing the old school fundamentals of running to the ball and running to the ball and tackling. I thought our tackling has fallen off this year. I don't think we played as hard this year running to the balls maybe we had the year before in some areas. And so I want someone, kind of a big picture person, that can help and assist in those areas. I have no doubt about John Butler's ability to game plan and to put us in the best position possible. But it's kind of those developmental, fundamental principles and building blocks that I want to make sure, as I have a whole new staff on defense, that there's someone there who believes what I believe. As I said, Coach Snow's not hired yet. When I did work with him, at Baylor, he was probably one of the top. He was a Broyles finalist that last year at Baylor, and we had the second year in the NFL. He had the number 2 ranked defense, so he's obviously someone I trust. But I just think it's more about that role. I want someone like that to help me oversee it. So you think about me right now. I've got Dana Holgerson as my offensive coordinator, who's been a head coach and been a long-time OC. I've got John Butler, who's been a DVC before, who's been in the NFL, who knows how to evaluate, especially in this portal era. And if I can have another elder statesman type person in there in that role, I think it frees me up to be as involved as I want to be, or as I can be. Because there's some days, guys, that I don't do any football. And I'd say there's probably more days than not that I don't do any football. And so, like even right now, bowl practice, I'm doing the best I can to get ready for the bowl. But I'm spending a lot of time, a lot of time. And I talked to a lot of other head coaches, like who maybe they've made offers to guys on our team. And when I talk to them about the guy on our team, they haven't even watched him yet. Like they're letting a personnel department do it. And so I don't ever want to get in that mix. I don't ever want to not be involved with who's coming and joining our team.
Oh, I did want to ask about the offense. Dana now kind of having that permanent role for the last couple of weeks. What kind of jump do you think that group can make one last time together? And then, how comforting is it to know, the last couple, 5 years you've been in a coaching job, you haven't necessarily known who your quarterback was going to be going into the next year. Now you do. How comforting is that to be able to see a guy and say, yes, we're going to be able to take him and carry him over, and the development he makes now is going to matter next year?
Yeah, you're talking about the quarterback or talking about the coordinator, or both? Yeah, absolutely. I think when you look at like the success I've had in college as a staff, we've had as a staff, has been playing a freshman quarterback. The second year, them taking a step, and the third year, them becoming championship level quarterback. To me, Dylan played winning football for us this year. Really assimilating into what Dana's vision is. Having an off season, my vision is obviously this month is highly important, but the receivers in January through August, getting on the same page, and Dylan leading that and running. I think when Dylan came in last year, it was like earning his ability to speak. He was in a quarterback competition. I think now, obviously Dylan's the quarterback, and those guys, he can take that and run with it to a whole other level. And I had Joe Brady with me in Carolina. He would talk about the jump that like Joe Burrow made and getting in there with those guys starting day one of the offseason and throwing and catching. And so I think that continuity will be really important. And then Dana's vision for what will be really important. Having everyone on the same page. So that's critical. You're only a good head coach when you have great quarterback play. Just on the same page. Like there's no one in the college football playoff that ain't playing well at quarterback, basically. So you have to have a guy back there that you trust, and I trust Dylan.
All 12 of those teams are in the top 30 in scoring offense, all the college football playoff teams. I don't know where you guys were, about 90th. How much of a jump do you got to take to get where you want to go offensively?
We have to make a major jump offensively. There's no doubt, right? And so I believe we kind of in some ways have done some of that this month. I think we have, go into the bowl. The bowl's a little different now because, your rosters really turn over and change going into the bowl. But really, it's this recruiting class we just brought in, plus the guys coming back, plus the portal additions that we make heading into the summer, and then the growth that we make. The days of, I mean, this is basically, it's basically, if we're being honest, 365 days a year free agency with the power in the player's hands. And so, which is what it is, right? So I thought having an offensive guy in Dana that can adjust to that, where it's not, hey, it takes you 2 years to learn our system, while still building a system that prepares guys for the NFL. That's why I feel great about what Dana can do. So no amount of turnover right now scares me, and no amount of additions scare me because I have a guy that can do that. And I think that's highly critical. What I will say though is when you watch a lot of those, you watching the Georgias of the world and all them, like it's 45-28 in September and October. You watch the games down the stretch, save the Big Ten championship game. You have to play defense too, and so we have to take a step on defense to play championship caliber defense. We also have to take 2 steps on offense to get to where we want to get to.
Have you had a chance to talk to Nate Borkacher at all and get a better read on is there a chance maybe you guys can keep him at Nebraska after?
Yeah, I think. Well, first of all, I love Nate, and there's different kinds of portal exits and entries, and it's all been a little bit different. Nate spent most of this year wanting to get done and go take a shot at the NFL, and then see what life is. I think now, if you can go into the portal and see how much money you can get, then so be it. Like if you're in the NFL, there's a reason why everyone in the NFL doesn't always re-sign their own free agents. The desperate teams set the market. Like so, the worst team. We all have about the same money now moving forward, right? Like, so the worst teams are going to pay more money, right? So, some teams are going to pay twice as much for a certain player, and so I think Nate he left very amicably. Just looking at his free, and I'll say this, I told him I really wish he'd play in the bowl game because he's been here for 5 years. I think it'd be good for him, but I can't control that. But I mean, I think he's looking at what his options are, his potential is. We see great value in Nate. Since Dana's gotten here, he's really seen a lot in Luke Lindenmeyer, and we've used him a lot. We've seen a lot in Nate. We think Carter Nelson's going to grow into one of the best tight ends. We think Heinrich is going to be a great tight end prospect, and we have some young guys that we like. And so Nate he's done everything the right way. Could he come back? Absolutely. Absolutely. Those days of like, if you go in the portal, you're not coming. They're over, right? Like, but some guys want to go in there and see what their options are. Some who go in can't come back. Just because they're not the right option for us, and some who go in can come back, to be quite honest. And so this is completely different than it even was a year ago right now with the amount of money floating around in college football. And so he's finished his development. What scares me, Sean, is to think that you're going to develop in college and play somewhere as a freshman, then somewhere as a sophomore, then somewhere else as a junior. You might make a little money, but I don't know if you're really ever going to become the player you could be. I think we'll have to wait 30 years and see who's happier, the guys who went somewhere for 4 years or the guys who moved around. Like, they'll all have to figure that out. But, so Nate's open. I'd be open to Nate coming back. But I think he's just still trying to figure out, am I going to the NFL? Am I going to see what's out there for me potentially in college? And there's a lot of financial opportunities out there right now.
You mentioned Heinrich. Has he made the full-time transition to tight end?
Yeah.
Or
Yep. And he'll still be available as a quarterback in the bowl game, but Jalen's been working as a number 2 quarterback, and Heinrich's been pretty much full steam ahead, getting ready for next year and being sort of like that FY tight end type guy.
What do you like about that?
He's probably one of the best athletes I've ever had a chance to coach. I mean, he's big, he's explosive, he's athletic, he can catch the ball, he's really smart. Heinrich can go out there and he can play tailback on one play and play X receiver on the next. In terms of knowing what to do, I'm not saying all those are specific to his skill set. So, but like I said, with a play designer like Dana, I think guys who can run and catch and block, they can do it. And so I think he's gonna have a real chance there.
You've talked on multiple occasions the value of these practices leading up to a bowl game. How specifically are you utilizing these days? You're 2 weeks in, and you have 2 weeks to go before the pinstripe.
Yeah, last week and this week. Last week was Tuesday, Thursday. We didn't practice on Saturday last week, did we? Okay, sorry. It's been quite a run, guys. Right now it's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday with Monday, Wednesday lifting, and then next week will be a bowl week. So a game week. So we'll do a full game week next week. Monday through Saturday. Then we'll get to the bowl site on Monday the 23rd, and we will do a bowl week, game week, which will, obviously there's certain things like, hey, you need to go here to do this, you need to go there to do that. So we've been really developing guys. Like the veteran players have been doing indie and some 7-on-7, maybe some 1-on-1s, but really taking a good hard look at some of our young players and getting them ready for next year.
What's the key to keeping your sanity as a head coach in a month like this? Like you said, it's been quite a run.
I love this month. Yeah, if I can, there hasn't been a day that Julie and I have not been out somewhere and someone's walked up to her and congratulated her on being pregnant, which she's not pregnant. It's like someone put something on social media, and literally there hasn't been a day. She laughs about it. I have to just walk back, and we appreciate people for saying it. But in Julie's mind, she's like, I'm 50, and I would never announce that I'm pregnant after 4 weeks. So I would just tell everyone out there, like, be careful what you read. Like, be careful. I have people walk up to, I heard this, I heard that. There's a reason why, if you look on my phone, there is no Instagram or Twitter. And I know that's a large part of what you guys do, but the external message maybe sometimes is not what we're saying here. I think we're really excited about the opportunities. You know me. I'm never going to say anything negative about anyone who leaves here. Sometimes people need to leave. Sometimes people aren't a great fit, staff-wise, player-wise. Sometimes there's guys you wish would stay, but they have to do what's right for them. But we are officially now a have. Like 1890, they've doubled down and they've helped us out, and now we have the rev share. Like we're going to have more than most people in college football. And so we have to make really good decisions. But, the staff that we've added, the people that we've added, people will text me and say, hang in there. I'm like, what are you we're 6-6. Like this is we're 6-6, so we got to get better. So I'm being honest with you, I've really enjoyed it. Now, there's an emotional component of me that loves everyone I coach, and sometimes I worry about some guys making bad decisions. But I knew this was going to be really hard, just getting from 150 down to where we are and still adding the talent that we need to win. And so I see this as great opportunity, and this is a time that we need. So if I had one message, it would just be like, be careful what you hear, be careful what you listen to, be careful what you read. There's usually an agenda. A lot of people make money off of the chaos around Nebraska football. And there's things out there and I feel sometimes bad because I think sometimes you guys think I'm lying to you. Like, there was a report that I had fired Garrett. I didn't fire Garrett. And then, honestly, the night before signing day, Garrett said, hey, my dad offered me a job. I haven't taken it yet. And, I called every recruit and said, hey, chance Garrett might leave. But I didn't know it till that night. So, but I love Garrett. He did a great job for us. He recruited Ja'Cory. He recruited Cortez. He recruited some great players for us. Now we got DeKeel here. And DeKeel, I think, he's going to be great. So this is a really good time, I think, for us. This is a time moving forward that we can make a jump. I expect us to make a jump. And the guys that are out there working. But there'll be a lot more perceived chaos in the coming weeks because that's what's going to happen. Some coaches have made the decision to try to keep their roster together through the bowl game. I feel like it's best to get it done now, and so we can move forward into the bowl game with who we think is going to be around. Some things will still happen, and then we can get the guys in that we want. So whereas I haven't been pro portal before because I didn't want to get rid of guys, now in this new model, we're embracing everything.
Maybe this is the case where it's also not official, but can you talk about what trades you were looking for in a D-line coach and maybe Phil Simpson joined?
Yeah, I hired Phil last year because I think Phil's a needle mover. He moves the needle, right? And Florida State recognized that and hired him back, right? And Phil has some family things that led him to go back, and it was a good deal for him financially, and it was very amicable when he left. Obviously, when Tony and Terrence left, and then some of the analysts left, as I looked at the staff, I wanted a true outside backers coach, not just the jack, but we started playing some 5 down throughout the course of the year. And I just can't think of a better person to go out and recruit, retain, but also when they get here to develop and have a relationship with guys. Recruiting is not, hey, I'll give you this. It's going to be relationship based once they're here. And I thought Phil, in the year that I had him, was excellent. He handled discipline for us. We're not changing our core values. Like, you're still going to go to school if you come here. We don't want you to come here if you just want to use drugs. We don't want you to come here if you don't treat people well. If you do those things, you're going to have to leave. And Phil helps me with that. So, and he's a really good coach. So I was able to get Phil back. And then, the D-line coach, the hire is not official yet. It's not gone through the process yet. But I wanted someone from a certain system. And as I was a young D-line coach, I learned through Phil Snow. I went out to the lines. I learned from Rod Marinelli. And his D-line coach at the time was a guy named Joe Cullen. And Joe Cullen's one of the best coaches in football. And Terrence played for Joe Cullen. And so the style that we believe in, because there's lots of different styles, comes through the Joe Cullen tree. So when I had an opening, I called Joe, and And Joe made some recommendations to me, and so we're going to move forward with one of those guys. I want a guy who's been in pro football. I want a guy who has great relational ability. I want a guy who can hold the guys accountable. They don't need a friend. They need a coach to help them get where they want to be. And, we have some young D linemen that I think need to make a step and can. So finding the right mix of all those things. But I went to Joe and some other coaches, and I think we hit a home run.
Hey Matt, you mentioned after the Wisconsin game, I think, that you were going to fly out some of the older guys who graduated. Is that still the plan?
Yeah. I mean, the school's not doing it. This is Julie and I's honor to pay for that, and we love those kids. I got a text from Ethan Piper the other day. Hey, are we coming out? I started looking at New York City prices. I was like, dang, wish we'd have gone to somewhere else. But no, yeah, we'll fly them out. The day before the game or whatever. Have them come to the game. Have them be a part of it. They're a big reason why we're here. And like I said, I really believe in the foundation that's been laid. And I can't thank Ethan Piper enough. I can't thank Nick Henrich enough, and many, many, many more. So, this is just a small way to thank them for being in a bowl game. I'm a big believer in gratitude, whereas, sometimes you'll hear like, well, I want to go to a bowl game, but it has to be this one. I want to play one more. I want to play one more month with our guys. I'm just grateful, and so I'm grateful for those players. I want them to be there, and hopefully most of them can make it. Susan's handling that, so amongst 7,000 other things that she's handling. So don't worry about me this month. Worry about Susan, and worry about all the recruiting staff because they're working overtime. Anyone else? All right, thanks, guys.
Coach Butler for a few minutes, and then we'll grab 2 or 3 players. Questions for Coach?
Okay.
Just how do you feel the secondary played this season?
I think obviously they could have played better, especially towards the end of the year. I think obviously as the competition got a little better, and obviously I think as our film started to get out there in terms of what we were doing, how we were playing, there was an awareness of maybe how we were attacked last year relative to how we were attacked this year. But overall, I thought that some of the things we did well. Obviously, I think we took the ball away and had some significant takeaways. 3 touchdowns, I think, is a big deal. Anytime you score once on defense, let alone 3 times, I think is big. Towards the end of the year, I think maybe the last half we gave up more explosive plays than I would have liked. For the 6 years I was in Buffalo, we were in the top 3 every year and not allowing that. And I think that's a key formula for winning. And I think we ended this year giving up 30 total. We gave up 28 last year, 30 this year, which put us, I think, 27th in the country, which is, not horrible, but not in the top 25. So, there's some things we did well. I think there's some things that obviously we could have done better, but that's the case, I think, in any year.
What does it mean to you to take on this DC role, and just how the relationship with Coach Rhule has grown throughout the fall?
Yeah, obviously the last time I talked to you guys, I was fairly new on the job, and we kind of outlined how that happened so quickly. And here we are a couple months later, and obviously a much different role. But obviously I'm excited about the opportunity, obviously to continue my relationship working with Matt, working with these players who I think I had developed a very good connection with. I think just working with those guys, not only just the DBs, but all the defensive guys, just working with them on a daily basis, trying to develop that relationship. And obviously just, continuing to develop and build upon the unbelievable history and tradition of the University of Nebraska and the Black Shirts, and understanding that's a tremendous honor. I know this was a highly coveted job, and Matt went through his process, and, I'm thankful that at the end of the day, he's given me this opportunity and given me a chance to, lead these group of guys and obviously help and do anything I can to put a great product on the field on defense.
Matt said that he'd like, schematically what you guys have been doing on defense the past 2 years. How do you sort of balance doing what you guys have been doing successfully and adding in your own nuances to
I think that's always the challenge, and that's really every year you coach. Like, all I can do is reference my 30 years of coaching, and you have a base fundamental system everywhere you're at, but you're always adding to it, eliminating from it, really trying to focus on the things that you do well. You're also going to make sure that what you're doing is conducive for your personnel. So, we're going to be schematically like we've been here for the last 2 years. Obviously, I loved working with Tony. Tony was great to work with, and I think we had a great working relationship where his ideas and fundamentals kind of are blended into mine, and I think that it's going to be a collaboration of everybody that we hire once we complete the staff. Obviously, adding Phil is a big deal. That's something I'm very happy about, just with his experience in this system and his experience with Matt. I think we're going to put a schematically, fundamentally, and personnel a defense that is going to be one that's hard to deal with.
You describe yourself as aggressive. Do you think you'll be an aggressive defensive play caller?
I'm an aggressive person, so I would assume that's probably going to bleed into what we're doing schematically. I think at the end of the day, whatever you're doing on defense you've got to be able to stop the run. It's very simple. You got to be able to stop the run in today's market, in today's football. That's the run in the RPO game, and you got to be able to affect the quarterback. And that requires you to be aggressive not only in how you're calling the game, but aggressive in how you're teaching the fundamentals to your team. I think a lot of times people get it misconstrued that, are you aggressive? Well, aggressive isn't about zero blitzing every snap. That sometimes can be stupid. But you have to be aggressive in how you get your players to play, to attack the line of scrimmage up front, to be physical at the second level, for our DBs to challenge and contest the ball. That's aggressive. And I think that everything about us is we're going to be an attack-oriented defense that's going to do our best to attack what the offense is doing and make it hard for them to move the football.
Can you size up your situation on the D-line and linebacker for the bowl game, just some of the attrition you've lost and how it affects going into the bowl game?
I think it affects us. I think when you understand the market of today's college football, I think it's going to affect every single college team that's still playing, and even including some of the teams that are playing in the playoffs, because the roster management at this time of the year is a very interesting situation, meaning you're trying to keep the players that you have. You're trying to add players for the future that are available, not only just through recruiting, but also through the portal. So what I think it is for the bowl game specifically with us is there's just so many good young players, and I'm not going to name names, but we just came out the practice field, and there's some guys that didn't play last year because they were second or third, maybe third on the depth chart, that they're going to play in the bowl game. And I think if they play like they've practiced, they're going to play well. So I think there's an excitement level there that anytime you have some of the depth players in your roster that are younger with tremendous promise, just their opportunities to make plays in the game are going to be there. And that's part of what my job's going to be. When you're a coordinator, you're putting together a whole defense, but you're also like, all right, who are the dudes in my unit right now that are going to go out there and make some impact plays? And I think we have some of those guys, and it's going to be, under, I guess, my leadership, but our collective task is to make sure that those guys are impacting the game, come that matchup against BC.
One of the things that Coach Rhule mentioned is wanting to get better on third down, red zone, and 2-minute pass defense.
Right.
And he cited your experience in the NFL with advanced coverages. Broadly speaking, what does he mean by it?
Well, I think at the end of the day, a lot of those situations, instead of not really the red zone, but third down and 2-minute, for the most part, guys, it's 90% pass. So when you are playing defense and you can immediately identify it's a run or a pass, then obviously your approach changes. You know what I mean? Like, the best offenses that we're going to face are going to be the ones that are the least predictable in terms of run versus pass ratio, because you have run calls and you have pass calls. Well, in those situations, in third down, generally speaking, in 3rd and 4 or more, 2-minute situations, you're expecting the quarterback to throw the ball. So you're studying protections, you're understanding route concepts, you are identifying who they like to throw the football to. So I think what happens is when you can hone in on the passing game, you can take away a team's best player. You can attack the weak link in protection. You can affect the quarterback either up the middle, on the outside, whatever it happens to be, without a concern of the run. without maybe a draw or a screen every once in a while. That's what they do to keep you off balance. So when you're doing that with multiple front looks, and you're doing it with coverage variety. And I think the biggest thing from the NFL to college is you have to really hit the target in terms of what these players at this age group can handle from a processing and from an execution standpoint versus what the pros are, just because they're 6 to 8 to 10 years older with that much more experience. So I think that's the fine line that, as I was adapting to what was going on when everything happened so fast that it did, it was just understanding that at the end of the day, it's an old cliche, but it's not about what the coach knows. It's about what the player knows and what they're able to execute. And, in those situations, you can have a little bit more variety because you're not worried about the run as much.
How'd you feel like there were a couple of games this year, I think, like Illinois and Indiana, maybe USC, maybe another game, where it felt like on third down you guys were maybe a little bit on skates. How do you feel like you handled some of those situations this year, and what might you want to tweak?
Yeah, I would take that Indiana game and just flush it down the toilet for, I think, in many, 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 many different ways, just because it was such an outlier when you look at our whole season. But there were some games where, we had an elite performance on third down. You look at the Iowa game, they were 0 for 10. And then you look at some other games where, maybe it wasn't the case. And really, at the end of the day, as a defensive coach, your job is to get stops. And you're going to get stops on third down. And I think that's where, again, we did a study just recently, kind of a recap of the season. I think we were, I can't really speak on it, but, kind of in the 30s, as far as our third down percentage and stops, which is, good enough. But I think we can improve that with just maybe how we attack the protections and just get a better understanding of what we're doing coverage-wise. And another thing I think is a huge thing about defense is the continuity. So, like, if you're changing what you're doing every year, or you're coming in, there's a process of learning exactly what we're trying to do. And I think the beauty of it is moving forward, those coverage principles aren't going to change. It's just they're going to get more reps and more exposure to them. And I think at the end of the day, that'll allow us to, execute them.
How important at this point of your career was it for you? Maybe it wasn't for you to lead an entire unit, to lead a defense. Was that something that was on your mind? Is it something that's important to you or not?
Yes, it was. I mean, I think it's well documented that when things ended the way they did in Buffalo, a lot of that conversation was centered on the fact that at the time, I thought I was the right man for the job there. That didn't happen, and life goes on. So, but also at the end of the day, I'm a football coach. That's what I've always done. I've done it for 30 years, and I know that I that's something that I do well. So when it came down to the opportunity to come here, the decision wasn't, well, I'm going to come here because of this opportunity down the road. I came here because I wanted to be. I had heard so many great things about working with Matt. I had a lot of respect from afar from Tony, and obviously the University of Nebraska speaks for itself. It's a level of, it's pro football. I mean, as far as all the media that's here, the attention that it gets, and so when I came here, that was what that reason is. This is kind of I guess a silver lining or a cherry on top that, if you believe things work out for a reason, which I do, things happen the way they happen, and it's never, your road in life and your road in your career is never going to go exactly to the script that you want it. But when opportunities come, you better be willing to either accept them or not. And that's what I talked about the last time here. So I think that at the end of the day, I'm happy that this opportunity came up. I think I'm going to embrace it and run with it and do the best I can to serve the University of Nebraska, serve Matt and these players, and whatever happens, happens. I'm at the age right now where, I'm a lot more experienced and grizzled than I was 10, 12 years ago. So it is what it is.
Coach Rhule had mentioned that some of the current secondary players had advocated for you to get this job. How much does that mean to you, and how far has that relationship come after coming in a few months ago in a very unique situation?
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I was told that there was actually not just DBs, there was D linemen, there was a couple offensive guys. So, that's pretty cool to hear that, that you've at least impacted people in your experience. Because really, when you do get into coaching, you want to make sure that, at the end of the day, you've had some type of impact on them as people as much as you've had on them as developing them into players. So to hear him say that, I had kind of heard that and rumored that, and there was guys coming into the office saying, I want you to do the job, and some guys I didn't even really know that I had that good of a relationship with. But I think that that's a testament to, the things that I believe in. It's not just about the X's and O's. It's about developing a relationship and, letting these guys know that I can give them some wisdom outside of just football experience because I've lived a long and winding road of life. So hopefully I can continue to do that and continue to, impact these guys in that way. And,
Thanks, Coach.
all right, thank y'all. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Go ahead with questions for Sierra.
Hello, everybody.
What do you like about John Butler?
I think he's a really great guy. We've gotten to know him really well over the course of the season. And I think my favorite thing about him is his mind. I think he's just super advanced with his knowledge of the game. And I think he does a really good job at, passing that knowledge on to us.
You were just mentioning, maybe some younger guys get an opportunity in this bowl game. Have you seen a little extra juice in practices from some of those guys who send sets out there?
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. I've definitely noticed, a lot of people flying around and making plays, flashing in these practices, people that maybe didn't get to play as much during the season. But I think that's what the bowl games are meant for, opportunity to carry on, to finish the season on a high note and then, carry on into the next season. So, I feel like you see that oftentimes, at other programs as well, younger guys or players that didn't really get as much on-field experience during the season to come and shine during the bowl game.
Are you guys excited? How excited are guys to go to New York? What's the vibe to get?
Me personally, I'm extremely excited. New York has always been a place that I've wanted to go to, and then spending the holiday season out there. You always see on movies they'd be in New York, for Christmas and stuff. So I've always wanted to do that. So it's like a bucket list thing. So I'm really excited to go out there and play. And then as for the team, it's the first time we've been to a bowl game in a long time. So everybody's excited about that. But the fact that we get to go to New York is, I think, is really cool.
It's on your bucket list.
I got to go to Central Park. I don't really know what else they got. I got to go get a chopped cheese. I'm not sure what else they got. I got to check it out. See what's. Oh, and I got to see a play. If I can see a play, I want to do that. I know they got that. I saw Hamilton last time I was in New York. They got the Michael Jackson play. I want to see that play.
You just got here not that long ago, but the way college football works and how much you played, you merge into a leadership role, or is that how you're looking at it now?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I came in here kind of with a little bit more experience than some people in the room, especially the younger players. There was a lot of freshmen, a lot of redshirt freshmen, and when I was a freshman or sophomore at my previous school, there was people that came in who had played prior to coming to USC, and they had experience, and they came in kind of with a different mindset and a different approach. And so and I've seen these players go to the NFL. So I wanted to bring that approach to Nebraska, and I think that's kind of what I did. Just come in with a little bit of experience, kind of trying to guide some of the younger players and help them wherever I can.
Sierra, what do you think of the matchup? You guys are playing an ACC team.
I'm excited. I'm very excited. Boston College is a great school, a really good program. So I think we match up well with them. It should be a very exciting game. It should be fun.
You guys know much about them right now, or is that maybe?
Yeah, we're getting into studying them as a team, studying what they do. So I mean, we'll get a lot more into that next week for sure. But this week we definitely just getting back going. Moving around and stuff like that.
Why was it important for some of the players on the team to go to Coach Rhule and actually advocate for Coach Butler to be the DC?
I think for Coach Rhule, he's got a really tough job. Being a head coach, being in control of big decisions like that. It's difficult. And when you have somebody that's on the staff already and been around the players, they can speak to how they feel about somebody. And Coach Rhule is somebody that values people's opinions, and he values his players' opinions. And so hearing how we feel about Coach Butler is, I feel like it helped Coach Rhule because, if he can hear okay, they're comfortable with him, they're comfortable with what he calls, what he does, it places more faith in Coach Butler for Coach Rhule. So,
I mentioned that there's maybe some guys that were second or third on the depth chart this season but didn't play because there were other guys playing in front of them. Those guys have left that might play in the bowl game. Who's impressed you on the defensive side of the ball so far in bowl prep? Maybe a young guy or two that hasn't played a lot this year so far.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people doing some good stuff in practice. Somebody that comes to my mind for sure though is Donovan. Donovan's been playing really well. Donovan, Caleb, Preston's been impressing me recently. Just really getting to see, because I'm kind of getting to, watch everybody else play. Usually, in practice, we're out there running around the whole time, but now everybody's kind of getting in rotation, and so it's good to see, everybody going out there and making plays, and Bly and JJ and Mari. Everybody's been doing a really good job, though. So I'm excited to see how, how everybody go out there in the bowl game and plays.
For players in the month of December, how crazy is it just with guy could be next to you one day and they're gone the next, just with the portal and everything that kind of goes on in the month of December.
Yeah, I think that's kind of just how things are now. I think you've got to get used to that. I think people have to make the best decisions for themselves. And at the end of the day, like, we all have goals, and if somebody feels like that, their opportunity to reach their goal is somewhere else, then you can't do anything but respect that, and support them through that and wish them the best in whatever it is that they decide to do. So I think it's just, it's a part of the game now.
All right.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Johnson next. Harlem's own, Larry Johnson.
How excited are you to get a finish your Nebraska career back home?
No, I'm very excited. I think it's very fitting to end my Husky career at New York City, the place I grew up in, the place I started at, and to be able to end it there is like very fitting for myself.
How many family members do you think will be there?
A lot. I'm probably expecting between like 50 to 75 range of just family, friends, high school coaches, youth football coaches, and just et cetera.
What went through your mind when you realized that you were going to play your last game at home?
I was excited. The first thing I did when I wasn't sure, I was like, well, I told my family members in our group chat, like, we might be playing in Yankee Stadium, so just be prepared for that. And it was like, oh, well, let us know right away if that's the case, because we gonna be there. Whether you can get us tickets or not, we're going to be there regardless, so don't worry about none of that. So I was very excited, honestly.
How far from Yankee Stadium did you grow up?
So I grew up in Harlem. That's about 10 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on what bridge you take to the Bronx. So about 10 minutes, I would say. But now I'm living in Brooklyn, so it's probably about 45 minutes, I would say.
How much juice have you seen in practice from guys just, to play in this bowl game, and especially maybe some young guys who are probably fired up too?
Nah, everybody excited. A lot of people haven't been to New York City, so I guess they're more excited about that. So they're all like, Romero, like, what's the spots? Like, where we gonna go? What we gonna do? And I told them, when we get out there, I'll take care of y'all. Don't worry about that. So, but they're all excited about the city life, especially around Christmas time too. They always want to see the tree and all that good stuff around there. So everybody's ecstatic, for sure.
Knowing how expensive it is to be in New York, to get the opportunity to stay, like, basically in Times Square for a week, how special is that for guys, you think?
Nah, very special. I'm sure they probably seen it like in movies and like through TVs and stuff like that. But to actually be there and get that actual experience, I'm sure it's gonna be something they're gonna remember for a long time. So I'm glad to get to see that.
As somebody who's from the city, what do you tell people who've never been there that are going there for around Christmas time? Like, what's a must do?
A must do. I'd definitely say, view all the tourist spots. Like, you go to the Rockefeller Center, see the tree, the food spots. I think, no offense to Nebraska, but I think we got more variety of foods over there. And I want to just, like, bring the certain spots and then show them, like, the East Coast way of food, you know what I'm saying? So that's my answer to that question.
It's so crazy now with everything that's happened. It's even changed a lot since you started it. What do you make of it, and how do you try to guide any people with decisions, or what lend your wisdom to anything?
Yeah, me being the oldest, one of the oldest on the team, I always tell him my stories and what I did, and just give him a lot of wise answers I can give them that help them pursue their career and stuff like that. As you probably all know, like I've been through everything, so any questions they got, I just make sure I give them the best answer I can. And yeah, that's pretty much the answer for that one.
If you just reflect on this senior season, what's it just been like to be a part of this group?
It's been very exciting. We had some fun times. I was just glad to be able to play, almost a full season. I know coming in, I said to myself I wanted to have a complete full season. Obviously, I didn't get to have that, but the times I did play, I enjoyed myself, and I wouldn't change it for anything else, honestly speaking.
Ramir, you said you've been through everything. Coaches, various teammates, now going to a bowl game, injuries. How do you describe, your 6-year journey here in Nebraska?
That's a good question. Adventurous, I would say. Had some ups, had some downs, but throughout the way, I always kept my head down and worked hard, and always kept coming. I never stopped believing in myself, and every coaching staff that I've been a part of, they always believed in me, so I'm grateful for that, and glad to say I'm a Husker, honestly speaking.
Anything else from here? Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, finish up with Cam Lenhart.
How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
How excited are you to go home?
Super excited. Super excited to see my family. A lot of them get to come watch me play. So I think it's a good opportunity, and I'm happy to see them when I go home.
What was your reaction to finding out that you guys were actually gonna play Lincoln Circle?
Well, first thing I did was text my mom. I told her I'm coming home to play, and she said, "Hey, everybody can come." And then I was like, "Everybody," and then she said, "Yeah." So gotta get them tickets.
How many is everybody?
Well, honestly, I don't even know yet. I just know it's gonna be a lot of people, cousins, aunties. So
Obviously, some guys are playing their last game on the D line, and some people are leaving. How much do you want to, be a leader of that group, from now on going forward?
yeah, it's a goal of mine. It's a good opportunity for me and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna take it, some gratitude, and yeah. So just I'll step up at bat, because those guys left the mark. So just step up in their shoes.
With the number of guys off the D-line for this game, how much more reps are guys anticipating they might have to play in a game like this?
A lot of us are going to have to take a lot more reps, but it's a good opportunity, for people who didn't really play much earlier in the season, but it's going to be a good opportunity for us to get those reps in, and yeah, so.
Getting Van Poppel now available too, how much will his body just help having him for a whole game?
Yeah, no, it's having him, Keona, a lot of those guys, even Mason, it's gonna take everybody. So just we've been really honing in on that in practice.
Has there been a little extra something with guys that are younger who maybe they didn't play as much? You can tell they're kind of amped up for this and this opportunity this month.
Yeah, 100%. They're just more locked in, and it's just a good opportunity for them. We're going to New York City to play, so a lot of people are pumped up about that. Yeah, a lot of people are excited.
I'm sure you have a lot of friends on the team who've never been there before. What do you tell them about your?
It's a lot to do, There's gonna be a lot of people there, a lot of things going on. But a lot of people, they ask what I should do and stuff like that. First thing I said was we gotta go get the food spots, and that's a big thing in New York. And I love eating, so just taking them around and stuff like that. Get a bacon, egg, and cheese or something like that.
Ramir was just up here. What's it mean to send those guys like him out, right? Who are finishing 5 or 6 year journey at Nebraska.
Yeah, no, it's a privilege to be out there with them, especially their first bowl game. So like send them off with a win, you know, that'd be like something that we want to achieve as a team and stuff like that. And I know I'm taking pride in that.
Coach Rhule mentioned that some of the guys, defensive guys, not just defensive backs, but defensive linemen, vouch for Coach Butler to get the job. Why was it important for him to get that promotion?
I think like as a group, we think he deserved it. You know, he's a great guy, and then we know him, you know, so just get somebody in there that we know and we're comfortable with. So I think, you know, a lot of us went in there with that.
Kim, what's that transition been like? Has there been much change? I'm sure that John wants to put his fingerprints on what the defense looks like through the ball game.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we talked about our coaching identity and, you know, what that's going to be. But it's cool to have him in there, you know, and you know, his philosophy on things and, you know, where he's coming from. So I really enjoy it, and, you know, I'm looking forward to building something with him.
Thank you.